Welcome. Dr. Thomas Rashard Easley here, author of Mind Heart for Diversity, founder of Mind Heart for Diversity consulting firm. Thank you for tuning in. On today's video, I'm going to talk to you about 10 key metrics to look for to have an inclusive workplace. So here we go. Number one, seek out feedback from every employee or from every unit at all levels. What that shows is that you're letting your workers or your subordinates or those who work with you know that their input is important. And it also lets them know and feel like what they think matters to you. So then that way I'm contributing not just by my talent and my skill and my body, but I'm also contributing with my mind, contributing with my voice, and contributing with the ideas that I have that hopefully will make an initiative or the workplace better or smoother, not just for me and not just for you, but for everybody there. The second is, I think you should then report back to the workers what it is that you're doing, which adds technically a number 3, which is transparent communication. Okay, so now when you address the people based on what they said, that helps to build trust. When you're using their language, I used to do diversity initiatives when I worked at different educational institutions. And I noticed that when I would do initiatives, just from like, it starts from me, I'm the spark, and we put it out there. Attendance wouldn't always be great, it wouldn't be 100%. We always had decent, like 50 to 60%, but it wouldn't be 100%. What I noticed is that when we started using the language from the people that we wanted to attend, we wanted to know what people wanted to learn. Then they would say, oh, I want to learn how to, let's say for working out, I want to learn how to do 200 squats with ease. Then when we would title our event, we would either have 200 or squats or whatever in there. And then that sent a signal to people that, oh, you really valued my input. And it also sent a signal to people that, oh, I need to be there because you're talking about something that I care about, okay? So transparent communication is really being open with whatever it is that you're doing, or I'll say it this way, answering the questions that you can answer when people are asking. I know that I've been a pastor of a church, and when we're talking about budgets and what we're doing with the money, transparency is being able to show people where the money has come from, how much money we raised, and where the money is going. And you're getting also feedback from them on should we spend the money here. Take that and come back into the workplace. If the company or organization is getting ready to make a big transition, something is happening, then you're communicating with people what is happening and you're telling them what they need to know so that they can do what they need to do for themselves. And that's transparent communication. Doesn't necessarily mean that you tell them everything that you're doing, but you really want to be open and help your employees or your colleagues feel that you value their input, you value them being there, and you want them to feel comfortable with this transition. Okay, number 4, use the ideas that the workers give you and give them credit. Use ideas that are given and give them credit. I've been in places where I have been asked my idea. I'll give the idea a week, few days, 2 weeks later, maybe even a month. I'll see the idea utilized in a program or in an event or even maybe in a class or in a meeting, but then I don't get the credit for it. So then that makes me feel like you don't respect me, and it kind of makes me feel like I'm being devalued. So to reverse that, take the input, use the input, but give people credit. So then that way they feel respected, they feel valued, they feel heard. And I'm going to just put a bookmark there. One thing that I always tell people or my clients that I work with, everyone may not worship the same. Everyone definitely doesn't think the same. And no, we don't feel the same, but everyone wants to be heard and respected. And that's whether you hurt people or you're the victim. Everyone wants to be heard and respected. So keep that in mind when you're doing your work and helping to create or establish an inclusive workplace. Next, follow through on ideas that have been given to you, or follow through on ideas that people bring up. When I have done diversity training in the past, and I'm sure what I'm about to say, many people who are involved in this sphere understand what I'm saying. We'll have a great 2, 3, 4 hour meeting, maybe even a 2-day gathering. We take down all of the notes, we write it on clipboards, paper, flip charts. And then All of that great intelligence or brilliance ends up in a folder on the bookshelf like the one I'm sitting next to. And there's always someone or some people who are like, what are we doing about that initiative? What are we doing with those ideas that we came up with? I really would say like that, it's a letdown when you can't say what we're doing and you can't say what we've done and you can't say where you got the ideas. So follow through. Don't just do a training, if you will, and then take the ideas and sit it on the shelf. Don't just have a meeting with someone, listen to them, and then when they leave, bye-bye, and then just take the ideas and sit them aside. Make sure that you're utilizing them and letting people know that you're utilizing them. Next, remove barriers that prevent people from being promoted or from moving up. Here's an example of one. I've had experience working with the federal government as well as in academia, so please hope you're okay with the examples that I use, especially if I continue to use academia. When I worked at universities, there were always different classifications for employees. You would have employees who had to be at their desk literally 40 hours a week, and they get paid for that. Then you had other employees who would get paid for 40 hours a week, but they may not have to be at their desk because their job responsibilities require that they're out engaging with people, meeting new people, so on and so forth. So the people who don't have to be at their desk for 40 hours a week have a lot of freedom that other people do not have. The other thing about, I noticed that when we had those two different classifications, it seemed like the people who could go out and get paid for not being at their desk, but get paid for the work that is being done, there was more trust in them. And then the fact that they could go out meant that they actually had more opportunity for other positions that came open at the university. So it's like they were in this class where they had more access to a promotion or to a higher position, where people who had to be at their desk all day, they didn't have access. So then this is why I say it's two different classifications. Because what would happen is that we would say, because you're in this strata or you're in this line, you can't apply for this job. Here's why I say remove the barriers. What if someone has been there for 5 to 10 years and they totally understand how the organization works and operates? Matter of fact, not only do they not understand it, or not only do they understand it, but they contribute to how you operate and they've contributed to your success. So they actually know what you need to know and what needs to be done. A promotion opportunity comes up and everyone in the organization enjoys working with this person, right? But they can't apply for this promotion because of their classification, and they've been there for a while or been there for a long time. So can you see how I have tenure here, or I've been here for a while, but it may feel like a slap in the face if I can't apply for something that I probably helped to create? So that's what I mean when I say remove barriers out of the way so that people can feel like they have an opportunity to be promoted, and so that they can be promoted. The next thing is support professional development of your employees. Now, when people come in as an entrepreneur, I get it. If I'm paying you for what I brought you in for, I want that task accomplished. I want that job done. But what I've understood as I continue to work is, I want to give you some language, something that I don't say, and everybody may not agree with this, but it's fine. I stopped saying well over 15 years ago that I had a boss. The reason why is because I'm actually my boss. Now, here's what I mean by that. If I wake up in the morning and I feel sick and I can't move, yeah, I have to call in and let them know that I can't come to work, but I can't move because there's something going on with my body. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm my boss because my body really controls where I go and what I do. What I have are supervisors, people who I have to report to based on whatever my job responsibilities are. But I also have a relationship with you. Hopefully it's good, where I can share information with you and we can communicate. So if you take the scenario that I just set up for you, or the way that I described it, many, if not all of us, are technically, even though we're being paid, we're still volunteering our time. Okay, that means that I may be getting paid, but maybe I'm not getting paid what I think that I should be getting. Or I'm here, but I'm here way longer than I really want to be, depending on what my responsibilities are. So that means even though you're paying me, I'm still giving you something, just like you're giving me something. So this is why I say support professional development, because if I'm coming here and I'm giving you my best, or giving you what you think is the best, I encourage you, as the leader, as the manager, or the person who controls the budgets, please keep that in mind and support professional development so that people feel like you want them to grow. And here's the other good thing. When you do that, it helps keep people there. Now, let me just pause there. I think I'm on number 7. If you notice, everything that I've said, have I mentioned the word diversity yet in anything that I've said? No. except for when I introduced it. Have I mentioned the word inclusion in anything that I've said? No. Mentioned it at the beginning. How about equity? No. Mentioned it at the beginning. That is to let you know that you can work on diversity without saying diversity. And the next thing that I want to say is work to not make diversity a separate entity or a separate initiative. Diversity should be a part of everything that you're doing. It should be a part of when you hire, it should be a part of how you fire, it should be a part of when you promote. And if you have to demote, it should be a part of that. It should be a part of your decision making, it should be a part of your communication, it should be a part of how you attract clients or people to you, it should be a part of the way that you serve those that you work with. And so with that, what I want to do now is give you the next one. Establish parameters for people to have time off. Now let me finish this part. That aligns with the company, but also aligns with their culture. Here's what I mean. Even though I grew up celebrating Christmas, still work with people who love to celebrate Christmas, I also work with people who don't celebrate Christmas. I grew up not knowing what Yom Kippur was, but now that I'm at this point in my life, I now know what it is, and that people need time to acknowledge or to celebrate, their culture as well as their family or themselves or something that is going on. Here's what's interesting. If you notice that companies do it too. Let's say you've been around for 100 years. Oh, now a centennial celebration. Let's say you've been around for 5 years. Let's celebrate. So I guess the other point that I really want to say is sometimes think about your company as an individual or as a body, not just as, oh, we make all this money and we bring all of these people here. Remember, you're still an organization, but you're an organization comprised of people. So make a time off or a holiday calendar or a special time off calendar that aligns with not only what you need as a company, but what other workers need. And then that way, here again, remember, people want to feel heard and feel respected, feel valued. That then sends a message that you value their culture and where they come from, because their culture and where they come from contributes to the talent that they're giving you in the workspace. If someone raises an issue, work to address it. Don't sweep it under the rug. People can raise ideas, but people can also raise concerns about things that are happening at work. And sometimes, what I've noticed about concerns is that they never come at a convenient time. Just like when tragic things happen in our life, they don't normally come at a convenient time. Like, I planned that and I'm ready for that. So I just want to acknowledge that sometimes we hear things, it's exhausting. Oh, another issue, I have to deal with it. But when you're in a leading position, when you're in a managerial position, that comes along with the course. And so what I encourage you to do is if someone raises an issue, make sure that you address it. And here again, if you go back to other things that I've said, raise the issue, use the language that they brought forth. And then if they're raising an issue and you can give them ideas on things that you can do, make sure that you do it. If you can't do it, make sure that your no is no. Or as they say, let your yay be yay and let your nay be nay. Social exchange. Going back to when I said employee vitality or faculty vitality, social exchange. How many times have you gone to an event if you're not a person who drinks liquor or drinks wine and there's liquor at the event? Now, let me talk to the people who don't mind drinking, who plan these events. Can you imagine going to an event? And let's say you like to have liquor. You're not an alcoholic, but you just like, I don't mind having something, that type of a substance at a gathering when I'm engaging with people, especially if it's after hours or after work. And what happens if you show up there and there's no drinking? Or what if you're like me, you like to eat and you show up at the function and there's no food? You probably don't want to stay. Or you'll stay for a limited amount of time and then you're exiting. Why? So you can go and get that thing that you want. Now let's bring it back to the drinking aspect. What about people who don't drink? What about those who don't partake? And keep in mind that when people drink, sometimes they can get belligerent, inhibitions come down, and sometimes people can do or say things that are inappropriate. So to help people feel more inclusive, have different types of events. And if drinking is something that happens, don't always have drinking at every event. Give people a break, save some money, do something different. Let's come up with other creative ways that we can celebrate and that we can recognize and acknowledge each other. Now, with that, I'm done with giving you tips on an inclusive workplace. Now, let me just tell you why it's important to have an inclusive workplace. It's important to have an inclusive workplace so that people feel like they belong. It's important to have an inclusive workplace so that people feel like they're valued, which then I think incentivizes or encourages people to want to stay there. It's important to have an inclusive workplace because people can be your ambassadors about what's going on at work. WOM, word of mouth is still real. People still talk about your company, and thanks to social media, they can put videos up about your company, or they can share a whole lot of other information. So as I bring this to a close, and I appreciate you tuning in and staying here with me, I just want to remind you that I gave you at least 10 things that you can do. I'm sure that there's smarter people out there than me. You can come up with 20, maybe to 100. So this is just a start of things that you can focus on. And my last point is this: when I've had disagreements with people, it's been a miscommunication usually, or a misunderstanding. That's why transparent communication is very key. So I encourage you to be open to what people suggest and give, to be willing to listen if you are the leader, be willing to speak if you are also the leader and not the leader. And let's make our workplaces more inclusive, which then leads to better change for you, your city, state, county, wherever you're located, or even the world. Dr. Thomas Rashard Easley, my heart for diversity. Thank you for listening. Take care.